Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about the situation in the Middle East. It's a volatile region as it is. I mean, something is happening somewhere. It was Egypt, it was Libya, it was Iraq, it was Kuwait, it was Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Kurdistan, and you name it, they're active. Now with the Saudi Arabia's developments, court changes, everybody is scared, and as you said that it's very dangerous and it can explode any time. Anything can happen any time. See, Saudi Arabia has become very friendly also with the other power in the Middle East, Israel. See, so that adds another dimension to the whole issue. How do you see that?
It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, I think Israel is playing an amazingly political game. And it's sort of almost, you know, it's like watching chess. And unfortunately, I think ultimately it's economic interests that are driven, that drive the way countries operate. And I can see, you know, in some ways you could say that if you're talking about extremism, etc., if you thought of 9/11, a lot of them were Saudi Arabian citizens.
Yep.
At the same time, they would clamp down in certain countries and yet sell arms to Saudi Arabia. And then people are saying that some of these arms sold by the West are used against civilians in Yemen. So it's constant balance, and somehow, and this is where I think we had a discussion. We said, why can't UN bring peace to the world? And that's really because some of the member countries are busy selling arms to areas. So in a way it suits them. Some people, arms manufacturers particularly, are making money from war. War produces money, and
well,
that's
most
the
of these
reality.
manufacturers are in the West.
Exactly. So one has to, you know, there are also now calls in some of the meetings we had saying that, and the very strong views were expressed, that really the West is to blame for increasingly arming conflict areas. So yes, that has to be acknowledged. So I think basically it's this money-making drive that is causing conflict around the world.
So are the arm manufacturers selling arms to both the parties?
This appears to be so, which is a bit worrying. And then suddenly you have governments go around saying, no, we want peace and don't use the arms, the very arms that you've supplied.
Yeah.
There's always this tussle between, you know, during every war, some people always get rich. Arms manufacturers get rich. They thrive on it. So I don't know what is the way that something has to be found in which the public and maybe civil society can find a voice. And this is again when we had a meeting recently, what can you do to change this? And we can change this is, you know, that the people should raise their voice if they don't like it. The people should vote, and that's where they can get their opinions heard in the ballot box, and vote out governments and parties which are generating conflict.
Right. Voting out, and people should express their opinions.
Yeah.
Stands out Catalonia.
Exactly. Well, there you go.
They express their views, but they're not getting what they want.
Now, Catalonia is an interesting point in that there isn't an overwhelming demand for separatism, for a separate state in Catalonia. And in fact, it's almost half and half. And what is happening, and I think this tends to happen with a lot of issues where there are disputes and calls for separatism, the loudest voices aren't necessarily the largest majority. And what is happening, and I was reading you know, some comments on this in the papers, that those who were pro-independent, or rather who were against independence and wanted the union, they were finding that they're being trolled, that even the media was pushing the separatist line, And this is what is becoming so dangerous now, with social media becoming a dimension, is becoming almost mob rule. And so with Catalonia again, and I also feel, although I'm not a big expert on it, that the government and even maybe the king have lost an opportunity where they could have tried to win over the separatists and found out why do they want independence, they've got autonomy, and try and win them over rather than alienate them. And I think the heavy-handed way that the police dealt with the demonstrators didn't do any good, because if people who might have been on the borderline might have found that that made them push them towards the separatist camp, independence camp. But then again, things are so complicated. You know, there was another report now saying that some of the brutality that was seen of the police against demonstrators, where some say that that wasn't actually, these weren't actually photos of the independence demos, but they were from pictures from 5 years ago of a strike, of a miners' strike, and what happened to the demonstrators. So it's very difficult. You know, fake news is alive and kicking at the moment.
Mr. Donald Trump's fake news.
Exactly.
Well, from Catalonia, you have been to Burma, so, and you have studied, read a lot about the lady in charge there. How do you see this Rohingya situation? About nearly more than 500,000 people have been driven out of their homes, their villages, and they have no place to stay except on the borders and some parts of Bangladesh. You see, Bangladesh is in a fix now.
What I keep banging on about to people is that what I see at the moment is democracy is being seen that only to serve the interests of the majority. And I think that is what's happened in Myanmar. I think the Rohingyas were always marginal and confined mainly to that one Rakhine state. And what is happening now is the majority Burmese or Myanmaris, however you want to describe them, they don't see the Rohingyas as part of them, which is why they're driving them out, they're brutalizing them. And Aung San Suu Kyi has been criticized for not speaking up on their behalf. But she's also a political figure now.
Yeah, but a lot of people say that she is probably just a rubber stamp thing.
She is a rubber stamp, and that the generals are really running the show. But at the same time, if she wanted, she could have used that platform for the people to hear on behalf of the Rohingyas. But then again, if the majority didn't have any sympathy for the Rohingyas, and this is the problem, that most of the majority of the Myanmaris would support the marginalization, the pushing out, the driving out of Rohingyas. So the Rohingyas are in an awful position where they're made to feel that they don't belong anywhere. And thank goodness that Bangladesh has come to the rescue. And now I'm heartened to see that compared to a few years ago, when people didn't really care about the Rohingyas before they were attacked so brutally and their houses burnt down, that even in Bangladesh they'd been languishing in camps for many years. And even in Bangladesh, I remember several years ago, people were embracing them. But now Bangladesh has done very well internationally by showing that it has compassion for the Rohingyas. So I think that Bangladesh has actually come out very well out of this episode, although it is straining to look after them.
And the world is helping.
And the world is helping, and even the Commonwealth, as you know, had a meeting in Dhaka, and they all expressed support for Bangladesh, and on behalf of and recognized that Bangladesh was facing a crisis in dealing with these massive number of refugees. And I've been to a couple of events here run by the Bangladesh organizations, and again they've all said that, you know, appealed for help for the Rohingyas. So the Bangladesh has done brilliantly to draw attention to the plight of the Rohingyas.
Great. There's a forthcoming meeting of World Religions for Peace, relationship between religion and peace. All the world's religions, they say they stand for peace, harmony, brotherhood or sisterhood, human rights, harmony, understanding, but it's not happening. And what is keeping us? Is it just selfishness, politics, arms race, what?
Well, it is very, very sad that at the moment the mood seems to have moved away from the old days of tolerance, moderation, and I don't know what accounts for it. The world has become more and more divided, more and more polarized, and this is also happening to religion. That people are now beginning to, my club is better than yours. There is that sense. There are extremist elements, whether we're looking at any country, whether we're talking about India or any country, Bangladesh or South Asia, you tend to find extremist elements try to hijack religion, speak for the religion, and but you can't really say that they represent that particular faith. So again, we need the majority voice to be raised and go and stand against and counter the influence of the extremists and the radicals. And that is becoming very difficult, especially these days, when, as you know yourself, it's happened in Bangladesh and elsewhere, that people who are against the trend are attacked and even killed by radicals.
Do you see any silver lining somewhere?
Silver lining I can only think of is that sooner or later trends change, thinking changes. And I like to feel that ultimately that humanity or human nature will recognize when things are going to an extreme and pull back from that. But whether we need, I think the time has come when maybe we need another Gandhi, another Mandela, who can bring about peace and talk about peace. And that's all we can hope for, is maybe public opinion change, and we need some sort of leader or some leaders who will not be.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you. And I'm happy to end this on a very happy note. Thank you. Some leader, maybe Gandhi, maybe Mandela, maybe somebody who can change the world. We'll look for that. We'll wait for him. In the meantime, take care. We'll see you again next week, same time, same channel. Bye for now.